Hey guys, welcome to this new video, and in this video we are going to take a look how to set up Prometheus in the Kubernetes cluster. So this video is a part of monitoring series where I will be showing how to set up Prometheus, how to set up Grafana, and how to enable alerts on your Kubernetes cluster. So let's get started. So here is my Kubernetes development repository, and I have already cloned that repository. And in this repository, inside this monitoring folder, you can see a folder with name Prometheus. And this Prometheus folder has couple of YAML files and one more folder which is setup. So to set up Prometheus, we will be going to use the Prometheus operator, using the help of which we will be going to deploy the Prometheus and other components like alert manager or exporters. So inside this setup folder, we have custom resource definitions that are required for setting up the Prometheus. So if you take a look at this configuration file, you can see that this is the custom resource definition for alert manager config. Similarly, we have other custom resource definitions as well. Like if you take a look on this one, this again custom resource definition, and this is for the pod monitor. So we have a bunch of custom resource definitions available, and we have some cluster roles that are also there. So these resources will be using that custom those cluster roles to access the cluster. So we can show I can show you the cluster roles here. So this is the cluster role, and these are the resources which can make any type of request here. So we can see the verb type is asterisk, and then uh, these are other resources that these custom resources can access. Now we have service accounts as well. So if you take a look on this file, we have a service account with name Prometheus, and we have one. So we have a cluster role binding as well, and you can see that this cluster role binding is binding our service account and with the cluster role. So uh, you can see the service account name is Prometheus operator here, and if we go to cluster roles, here also you should see the name as Prometheus operator. So in the role binding, we are just binding those service account and the that cluster role. Similarly, once we are done with the setup part, which means we have set up those custom resource definitions, then we can create those custom resources. And these are the bunch of YAML files that I have. So you can see the YAML file for alert manager. Then we have some exporters like black box exporter. Then we have cube state metrics, and then we have custom resources like service monitor. And if I just try to show you this, you can see that the kind is service monitor, and this kind service monitor is coming from the custom resource that we have deployed from this setup folder. Then similarly, we have node exporter as well, and we have Prometheus adapters, and then again we have cluster roles so that we can access these resources in the cluster. And then we should have the role bindings as well. We have role bindings. So this is the role binding, which is binding the service account with this particular role. So I have already set up the Kubernetes cluster, and let's go to my Lens ID and let's try to deploy these resources. So here is my Lens ID, and you can see that this is a fresh cluster that I have. This cluster is a 3-node cluster. I have 3 nodes, and let's first try to deploy those custom resources, and then we should be able to deploy other resources, those custom resources. So first let's deploy the custom resource definitions. So let me just go to the folder which is monitoring, and then inside monitoring we have a folder called Prometheus, and here let's try to apply whatever is within my setup file into the cluster. So let me just run the command, which is kapply -f and then the name of the folder. So this should create those custom resources in the cluster, and we'll see like if those cluster resources are getting created or not. So it first started by creating a namespace, and all these resources are going to be deployed in that particular namespace. So it has started deploying those custom resources, and then it started deploying the Prometheus service, Prometheus operator service. Then it deployed the service account as well, and we can see the role binding as well, the cluster role binding. Let's go to custom resources and let's try to see if we have those these custom source definitions there or not. So let me just filter it out. So here you can see we have these custom resource definitions that we just deployed, and now let's try to create those resources, those alert manager, those black box exporter, those node exporter and cube state metrics. So let's try to deploy all those resources, and those resources was present within the same directory. If I do ls, so we should see those resources here. So let's try to run the kubectl apply, and this should create all those resources that we just saw. And again, these resources are going to be created in the monitoring namespace. So let's go to the pod section and let's see all those resources. Let me flip the namespace to monitoring, and we should see these resources coming up. So here we can see that things are getting deployed. We can see deployments, we can see services, service accounts. So we can see all these resources getting deployed. Let's wait for them to finish up, and then we will go to the Prometheus dashboard, and we should be able to make some queries. So all the resources got deployed, and let's wait for them to get finished. Yeah. So all the resources got deployed successfully, and now what we can do, we can just port forward the Kubernetes, the Prometheus service, and then let's try to visualize that in the dashboard. Like, let's try to make some queries. So let me go to this network section here, go to services, and I just need to get the service name so that I can do port forwarding. So this is the service, this is the Prometheus service. Let's do the port forward. So let's try to run this command, and we have to give the port as well. So let me give the port as 9090. So this should port forward that service to our local machine, and then in the browser we should be able to see the Prometheus dashboard, and we should be able to make some queries as well. Okay, let's try to run it again. Okay, let's try to port forward the service from here itself. Let me just forward this port on port 9090. Okay, since I'm facing some issues on the port forwarding this service, let me try to just make this service as a type load balancer so that this can be accessed outside of the cluster. So let me just go and edit this service as type load balancer. Let's save this, and this should provision us the load balancer IP, and then we should be able to see the Prometheus dashboard with that particular IP address. Okay, now we got the load balancer IP, and let's try to open this IP address into the browser. So I have opened that IP address into the browser following by the port, and we should now we got our Prometheus dashboard, and here we can run the queries, and let's try to run a simple query. Let's try to see the container info, like the container let's try to measure this cube pod container info, and let's try to execute this. So we can see we got some bunch of data here, and which means that we are getting those metrics. And let's try to see the graph as well, if something can be plotted on the graph. Yeah, so here we can see those details are getting plotted on the graph as well. We can just add more filters here as well. So like, let's say you want to search for specifically for a particular namespace, then you can give the namespace value here. Let's say we want to run this query on a monitoring namespace. So you can just pass those uh, parameters here, and then you can execute the query again. So this is going to just return you the pod information, the container information for this particular namespace only. So here, these are the pods that are uh, just deployed within this particular namespace. So you can just check the metrics for nodes as well. So let's try to see if we have the node metrics as well, and here you can see we have one metric which is cube node info. Let's try to run this. So this is going to give you the node details. So we have 3 nodes in our cluster, that's why we are getting 3 records, and these are just going to give you the specification of each node, like the internal IP, the kernel version, the image, basically the OS image. So all those image related details this is going to give. And in the graph as well, we should be able to see 3 records. So here we can see it's showing those 3 records that we just saw in the table. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to show in this video. So let me summarize what we did. So first we started up creating those custom resource definitions, and after that we created those custom resources where we deployed alert manager, black box exporter, node exporter, cube state metrics, and Prometheus. And after that we tried to visualize the Prometheus dashboard with the help of running some queries. So we run some queries, and then we saw the result of those queries. And in the next video we will be going to take a look how to set up Grafana. So with the help of Grafana we should be able to plot some dashboards onto the top of our Kubernetes cluster. So this was pretty much it for this video. Hope you liked this video, and if you did like this video then please like and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next one.